Good afternoon. This is the meeting of Community Services and Land Use Committee. I'll call it to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. In accordance with our requirements, this meeting has been, I wanted to confirm with the county clerk, had public notice, been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act.
Yes, ma'am, it has.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of the agenda.
So move that, Chairman.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. Motion made by Councilman Glover and second by Councilman Tabernick. All in, without objection, the agenda is approved. We do not have any citizen comments today.
Nobody?
Nobody at all. All right. And we have, do we need a roll call, Ms. Brock?
You have 3 of the 5 members present. You have 1.
Okay, great. All right, so no public comment at this meeting. At this time, we'll have an update from, did somebody say something? Do we need to have a roll call?
Yeah, I think you've got 6 members. Yeah. The chairman is the next.
So am I ex officio today? In his absence? No?
I don't think the vice chairman.
Okay.
I don't think so. Let 3 go.
Okay, all right. It is a short agenda too, so, all right. Mr. Atkinson, well, you're going to give us an update on your departments?
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to introduce our Beaufort County Library Director, Ms. Amanda Dickman, and she's going to come up and tell us about all the wonderful things that are going on in our library system. So, Ms. Amanda Dickman.
Well, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to spend a few minutes with you this afternoon talking about my favorite community service. I'm biased, but it is public libraries, and most specifically, the Beaufort County Library, which, as you've heard me say before, has been the one that I've dedicated most of my career to serving in. So on screen, I'm going to give you a few visuals, but I know you get a lot of information thrown at you, so I'm going to make sure that this presentation today gives you exactly what you need to know. To start off, I just ask you to think about what comes to mind, the images that comes to your mind when you think of a public library. I bet first and foremost you thought rows and rows of books, shelves filled to the brim with stories waiting to be borrowed and read. And that is true. Public libraries, we have the books, but we have so much more. In Beaufort County, we have 5 locations and 2 bookmobiles, and we're fast working on a 6th location and working on achieving potential sites to accomplish the goal set forth in the Beaufort County Comprehensive Plan for additional locations and expansion of services. But I want to focus on the 5 that we have and the 6th one that is coming. In February of this year, I used my card, my library card, and this isn't advancing, so I'm going to let you do it. I used my library card to access the New York Times online for free, which is something, if you didn't know prior to today, you can access the New York Times for free with your library card. In that February article, there was a love letter to public libraries. In it, the author said, "The modern public library keeps its citizen warm, in our case, sometimes cool with those hot summers, safe, healthy, entertained, educated, hydrated, and above all, connected. And perhaps at this moment in our history as a nation, as a world, connectivity is the thing we need most. Connectivity to resources, connectivity to information, connectivity to each other. And the public library is the institution in every community that provides that connection." So how do we do that? We provide in our locations free Wi-Fi. We also provide computers for free for people to use. One of the hidden gems that most people don't know about is that we have a machine in each of our locations that will provide for free at no cost faxing, scanning to a USB drive or to an email account or even to online storage like Dropbox. That machine will also translate into several languages, including, for our Trekkie, our Star Wars people out there, Klingon. We also have meeting rooms at each of our libraries that can be reserved in advance for free for nonprofit organizations and individuals to utilize. In the summer, we turn our focus on encouraging people of all ages to participate in summer reading. In the spring, our partnerships with Volunteer Income Tax Assistance of the Lowcountry and AARP allow our libraries to be places that offer free tax preparation, saving our residents hundreds of dollars in filing their income taxes. We also serve as polling locations for elections, and our libraries host about 17,000 training and workshops throughout the year. On our shelves, you'll find movies and TV series. For those who are trying to scramble to catch up on Yellowstone, we've got you covered. We also offer magazines in print and online, and of course, the books. So let me tell you a little bit about what we did last year. We welcomed over 300,000 people to the library: students, kids, parents, adults, retirees, tourists. We also report about 96,700 active card holders. If you take a look at Beaufort County's population, that means about 50% of our residents are Beaufort County Library card holders. And with those cards, they checked out over 800,000 materials in this past year. That included also over 300,000 visits to our website, and our staff, which I'm proud to report to you, answered about 62,000 questions. That's not all. We also engaged 35,000 people who attended those workshops and programs. We provided 1,137 meeting room reservations, and I don't know if you've ever factored in how much it would cost to rent a conference room in this town. That's a cost savings to those individuals who utilize those meeting rooms. Our Facebook following has grown to almost 4,000 likes, so I encourage you all to pull out your phones and like and share. Those fax scan email machines I mentioned earlier, they scanned over 94,000 documents last year. If you were to calculate that by what an office supply store charges for a fax, you can see automatically the value of a library card. Our digital magazines were borrowed 16,000 times. Our staff made 534 visits in the community to daycare centers, nursing homes, assisted livings, anywhere anybody would invite us. We took the message of the library to the people. And then with the help of the Public Library Foundation of Beaufort County, we had our first ever local artist in residence program. And that's an opportunity for us to use our library spaces to engage and inspire a next artist by capitalizing on the talent that makes its home in Beaufort County. That's what we do inside the library, but there's also a portion of the public library that is available outside of our operating hours, outside of the walls of our libraries, through the digital library. That's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, smartphones, tablets, computers, all across the county. We have 4 primary resources, the first and the most popular being Hoopla. That is our ebook and audiobook, movie, TV, music, and more app that allows people on their smartphones or their internet-enabled devices to access content on demand. As I mentioned before, we also have access to the New York Times, the digital version of that, and the Wall Street Journal. Researchers in genealogy can access ancestry through the computers in our libraries as well as our library Wi-Fi. And we have Flipster, another app that provides access to digital magazines. In addition to connecting people to information, we also connect to other county departments, services, and organizations in our communities that serve our residents. This past year, we partner with VITA and AARP to provide that tax preparation service in the spring. We also partner with the Beaufort County School District and the USDA to participate in their summer feeding program, which provides a lunch meal to students in the summertime when the schools are closed. We also partner with Beaufort County School District to host a joint summer reading program so that we're both partnered together to encourage students to read all summer long. We also serve as a polling location. Some of you even attended some of the Narcan training and distribution at our libraries that Beaufort County Alcohol and Drug and Abuse Department did last year. In the upcoming weeks, now and into the next few weeks ahead, the Assessor's Office is using our libraries to host their public information sessions. and the Veterans Affairs Office will be utilizing our library locations to host appointments with potential clients for their services. So we do indeed connect. So now I want to share with you how we're working to connect even further. We want to also connect libraries to the great outdoors. Beaufort County is home to a lot of natural attractions and landmarks, and we capitalize on that by taking literacy and the enjoyment of reading to our parks. We have just finished the first year of a story walk at the Bluffton Library. In the front of the library is a park, and we've installed stations there so people visiting can read a picture book as they walk in the space. Thanks to the Friends of the Beaufort Library and the receptants from the town of Port Royal and the Spanish Moss Trail, there will be future story walks in the coming weeks and months at Naval Heritage Skate Park and the Spanish Moss Trail. As I mentioned, we will be resuming our artist in residence. Applications are open right now on our website for the next artist to submit their application to be our artist in residence. We are also working to mitigate the parking issues at the downtown Beaufort Library. Our partnership with the City of Beaufort and the Beaufort branch has allowed us to have 1-hour parking tokens that we are able to give to people who are volunteering at the library or perhaps researching in the Beaufort District Collection when they get their first library card or when they attend a library program. Our pilot of that was this summer, and so far we were able to distribute about 414 1-hour tokens to reward and incentivize the use of the library by removing the obstacle of paying to park. And last, I'll end with our most anticipated project, which is the opening of the Port Royal Branch Library. We anticipate that there's about 15,000 people in that this library would serve on opening day. The building itself is familiar to you. It's 1408 Paris Avenue, right in the heart of the historic district of Port Royal. It is about 3,200 square feet. And we hope that on opening day, when all the dust from the construction has settled and we're able to unveil this new treasure to the community, that we'll be able to offer a meeting room, a small group study room, a browsable collection of items for checkout, a free fax scan email, a copier, and staff that are welcoming and inviting this new treasure. So I started off by talking about the library being the heartbeat of its community. I'm no cardiologist, but I would say that our heart's pumping fine. And I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen in the weeks, months, years ahead as we continue to figure out ways to expand the library and further our mission to serve and support our community for learning, for leisure, and for life. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments? Questions?
Just one. It just seemed 3,200 square feet is relatively small for a library. What's your comment on that? And what can you provide in that community with 3,200 square feet? And you talked about having a small meeting room, et cetera, but yeah, it just seemed kind of small. So.
Yeah, so 3,200 square feet is about the size visually of the Lovico Library in terms of service area, area available for use by the public. And it would seem small. We are appreciative of the fact that it was a county-owned building, so that we didn't have to go acquire a site, build a site, that we're able just to renovate and make proper for the use of a library. At first, my personal opinion, which is what you asked for, my personal opinion is at first I thought, oh wow, this is small. But I also thought it looked like a library from the beginning. Getting to be able to talk to the architect and tell him all the things that we wanted to make available in the space, I'm confident in the design that we're going to be able to offer everything that people expect from our libraries. Even though it is a small footprint, we do think that it is a great first step in establishing library service in Port Royal.
Okay. I agree with the first step in that direction. Is there adequate parking in that area for the library?
That's a great question as well. There are a few spots that are right at the library. Parking will be something
Challenge.
that the entire Paris Avenue businesses and residents there talk about in the weeks and months ahead. I do think that the community itself is a very walkable, bikeable, golf cartable type of place, and I look forward to seeing some of the walk-up or bike-up traffic.
Thank you.
I think the other attraction, it'll be kind of when they do the crossing on Rebolt Road, on Spanish Moss Trail, for people on bicycles, it'd be easy to access that. I mean, Paris Avenue will be easier to access
Okay.
that way too, so. A lot of golf carts in Fort World too.
I know.
Any other comments from Ms.
I'm
Tabbert?
sure if anyone here doesn't have a library card, they could see you before you leave. Because other than, as Amanda said, books are what we all grew up with. Want to touch them? But there's so many online services that we all can access. So see her if you need a library card.
And that's right. Or they can sign up online. We have a fully
sign
online application ready to go.
I'd just like to comment, the lunch program has been such a success. Do you have approximately know how many children participated?
I don't on hand. I can tell you each branch is different per day, but we do think it's a viable resource, and even feeding just one child makes it worth it for us.
And you do it at all the branches?
We do it at all 5 locations.
That's a great program. Well, thank you for all the work y'all do.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Mr. Jackson, is that it for your report? Okay, all right. Next, we have Mr. Alan Wolf, Chairman of the CCDC, President of Surge Restaurant Group in Carlotta, am I saying that? Frazier, Program Manager. Presentation on the Coastal Community Development Corporation Workforce Housing Funding. Welcome. Hi.
Thank you, Chairwoman Howard. Thanks for having us. Carletha Frazier is our project manager, and I appreciate the time to explain some of the exciting progress we've made. The Coastal Community Development Corporation, website's listed on the screen there, is comprised of a board of 7 community members. We have experience in nonprofit administration, finance, housing, tax credit programs, and development, as well as corporate and real estate law, entrepreneurship in my case. We are formed with the explicit duty to serve the workforce needs of our community, which in the housing sector are challenging. We filed for nonprofit status in February of '23 and received the approval of the application in May of this year. That's all. There we go. So what are we doing? Our mission, as stated on the screen there, is to seek to increase the availability of homes for our local and regional workforce by preserving existing housing, redeveloping existing property, and then developing new property to meet the demand of our region while serving working residents. We have researched and implemented a number of tools to ensure our impact on workforce housing. And the first one is that we are targeting area median incomes from 50% for household incomes up to 150%. So it's a wide range that serves the widest selection of workforce needs for our community. We are excited to be working with deed restrictions. So once these properties are purchased, they'll be restricted to those AMIs for 99 years. So it's really a long-term solution, and one where we've learned from other communities in the United States that have taken a shorter term and wound up in a similar problem some 25 years later. Very excited that we have developed an application process which will allow us, without violating fair housing laws or standards, to prioritize workers who live or want to live in the community in which they work. And then last but not least, there will of course be no short-term rentals, which ties in very well to the growth management challenges that all of our municipalities in the county are facing. So why are we working so hard to do this? Well, frankly, we feel like the quality of life for low country residents is at risk, and it's really due to this rapid increase in property values that we've seen, so much growth in population, and what it's led to is some challenges in the availability, the cost of services, and the quality of services. If we can increase those 3, we know that we can have a better quality of life for our residents and our visitors to the area. Thank you very much for making the Beaufort Housing Needs Assessment come to life. Back in 2017, the results were issued, and I highlighted the numbers at the bottom because when you aggregate Beaufort County, over 5,000 rental units were needed, according to the assessment, by the year 2027. Here we are, some halfway through or just beyond that original 10-year window. And one thing that I don't believe we accounted for in that assessment was the leak in the bucket of short-term rentals and how every time we put a new unit in, we seem to lose more out to the short-term market. So it's a very challenging issue, and we believe that development alone probably cannot solve, to our standards, the challenge that we have. So how we're doing it. We've built the CCDC to leverage a host of cost curve bending strategies. The first one, and we learned this from the Greenville Housing Fund, who's about 10 years ahead of us, is that there's a IRS safe harbor law, which allows for property tax abatement if you're delivering units between 50 to 120%. That means you may have 25% of the units up to 50%, you can have 55% of the units up to 80%, and then you can have 20% of the units up to 120% of the area median incomes. So that's a big piece to take advantage of in bending the cost curve. The biggest one that we're making headway on is this altruistic investment. We are reaching out to members of the community, both south and north of the Broad, with a 10-year promissory note to help fund the down payment capital for the units that we're purchasing. There will be a 3% return on those promissory notes as a debt instrument, and with a 10-year balloon, which would be refinanced as soon as possible when the rates are certainly favorable in the next 10 years. We are also working with regional and local banks to secure 6% and 5% 30-year mortgages, which are below market and shows the effort that the banks are willing to put in to help support this challenging cause. We stand here with municipalities and with the county looking for community investment as well. Certainly as a nonprofit, we'll be able to offer tax exempt status for donations and grants when they are made. And then we will work feverishly, in fact, work with Senator Davis this morning on trying to get to the South Carolina Housing Trust Fund so that we can start to access state-level housing options as well. And at first, when we put this together last year, it started in October, thanks to a crisis south of the Broad, where 54 Chimney Cove residents were about to be evicted in 30 days. We said we have to have a nimble solution to adjust when these things come up. And we weren't sure if this would be a for-profit or a not-for-profit, but we ended up settling that the not-for-profit was the right approach, which of course bends that cost curve the furthest. We are taking a phased approach to our implementation. While we own 3 units currently and are planning to grow, I wanted to hone in on a couple. The first one being, we're working on a 13-unit model just for Hilton Head Island, which we've asked them to participate in from the municipal level. We have applied to the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust as well, which you all have supported. And then in phase 3, which can be really replicated anywhere across the county, we would be purchasing another 25 units on Hilton Head, and mainly because we already have the committed funds, soft committed capital of over $2 million from altruistic investors on Hilton Head to help us bring that to life. And as we grow into these larger opportunities in phase 4, that would work towards increasing capital sources like that South Carolina housing example or any other federal programs that are available. Where we stand currently is the Hilton Head Town Council has referred us back to their Finance Administrative Committee. We got a 5-to-1 favorable vote for a request of a $600,000 grant, which would fund 20% of the down payment capital for those initial 13 units in our Hilton Head project. I'm going to spare you the details on this too much, but essentially what we're doing is buying units of housing that are already for sale on the market. We've gone to the MLS listings. We've pulled homes and villas and condos that range from $200,000 to $400,000. So our target will average about $300,000 per unit. And then we work back through the taxes associated, the down payment costs, and we've basically been able to fine-tune a model over the last 8 months, which allows us to be cash flow positive and still allow for a finance or refinance within the 10-year period. Happy to go off record or offline, excuse me, whenever y'all would like to get into the big Excel file, but I wanted to keep it at a little high level today. And you can see here, in terms of the source of funds in just that 13-unit model on Hilton Head, we've asked the town of Hilton Head to support us with $600,000, and then we would go out to the community and the banks for the remaining capital balance. The Beaufort Jasper Trust Fund, we've submitted a request for the $2 million grant. We are in the application process. It would be paid back, just like with our altruistic investors, 3% over a 10-year period. We have $10 million targeted for that acquisition project and would secure 42 homes that are already here and lock them up for 99 years to serve the workforce needs of our community. Really, this CCDC phased approach, again, can scale anywhere across the county. Typically, our models range around 50 units, as our goal would be to secure 50 units a year. And that means 20% down as a request from municipal or county support would leave us funding the other 80%. So for every $1 of municipal or county money that's funded, we would find the other 4 privately. So what we've accomplished so far, we are off and running with our administrative budget. We have $100,000 as a matching grant from the Community Foundation of the Low Country, and we also secured $125,000 of private donations, which allow us to fund just over the first year of administrative operating work. We have closed on 3 units on Hilton Head thanks to the private foundation of one of the board members who took a leadership role, which included 2 Woodlake units on Hilton Head. That preserved over 7 workforce jobs that now don't have rent increases coming if this was to sell on the open market. And then we had somebody who moved out of a one-bedroom on Marshside on Gumtree Road on Hilton Head. They moved to Tennessee, so that unit was going to the market, and we were able to take a paralegal that was living in Bluffton at an extended stay, short-term hotel scenario, and got her moved in on Hilton Head where she lives and works. And we've also been able to welcome Carletha as our new project manager. Would you mind sharing the video? This is a little testimonial of that most recent tenant that we moved in.
I moved down here from Columbia, South Carolina about a year and a half ago. I work on the island at one of the local law firms. I'm a paralegal and wanting to pursue my education and get my law degree eventually and become an attorney. There was nothing available at the time. Moved into the only thing that I found, which was out in Bluffton. And rent was just very expensive to be in a studio apartment.
A lot of employers on the island need qualified, young, energetic people, and they're not moving to Hilton Head because they can't afford it. They're moving off island, they're moving further away.
Bluffton's, just at the other side of the bridge. However, everyone's coming onto the island and leaving the island at the exact same time every day. It could be an hour to 2 hour commute every morning.
So when you start figuring out how much time you're spending coming back and forth, you're not going to make that decision. You're going to find another job somewhere else. So this is a way to bring some of those people back and to help the business community thrive. Come on inside, Madison. I want you to see this. Well, Madison's a brand new unit for us. It's 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It's not overly big. It's about 800 square feet. Madison qualified financially, and she's the quintessential candidate we're looking for.
That's really nice. It's a great space. There's a walk-in closet, newer furnishings in both the living room with the built-in bookshelves, and then appliances in the kitchen. It's just a great space to live in. Nice to meet you. I'm Madison. I'm your new neighbor. Welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you.
It's very exciting. These guys are trying to put together 40, 50 units, and they're trying to make it where the employee can afford to live on Hilton Head and work on Hilton Head.
I'm going to be paying just the flat $1,600 a month, and I'm much closer to work, so gas I'll be saving on, time I'll be saving on. Time is more valuable than anything in the world. Being able to be a part of this program is saving me so much money. That way I am able to continue to work and not have to leave Hilton Head. I can stay in this area, invest more in the community, get more involved in the community, and not have to pay $3,000, which is unfortunately is not affordable for young professionals like myself. So I'm excited to just get everything unpacked, get everything where it needs to go, and just start from this new beginning.
Madison really embodies our goal of letting people live where they work. So I saw some snickers about the traffic part of the video, and that's one of the keys, is to get people living close to where they work to reduce some of those challenges in the commute. So where does Beaufort County fit in? We would certainly appreciate any work that you could provide in being a leader and potentially looking at solutions which would help us launch further into our mission. Recently, State Bill 284 was passed, which allows a tax to be considered as a use for workforce housing. We would appreciate any consideration there. We certainly see our biggest upside in bonding. Once there's availability of bonds, we can extend our efforts much larger. And then there's also the opportunity, of course, for land leasebacks and development if there's opportunities in your portfolio that you'd like to look at there. So the wrap up for us is why partner with us? Well, we have an immediate solution. It doesn't require zoning changes. It doesn't require 24 months before a shovel goes in the ground. We can make an immediate impact, which is something we've all been looking for, as far as I can tell, for the last 8 years that I've been paying attention to this. Again, the strategy is in line with growth management. We have covenants that will restrict the use for 99 years. And then one thing we're most excited about is we're going to prioritize home ownership. So as a renter with us, you will be accruing equity towards the purchase of one of the units that we live in. You know, our model only accounts for appreciation of the units at 4.17%, which is the 20-year historical average across Beaufort County. And that means if somebody wanted to buy one of our units 5 years from now, they'd be able to purchase it at that same 4.17% price that we have built into the model. So there's potentially quite a bit of savings by having them be able to buy the home at the same basis, plus that small level of appreciation that we're in at. We believe it's a community solution. we're happy to be this far in the process, but looking forward to making further strides, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can.
Okay, I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah. Alan,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to congratulate you for the work you've done and the program that you put together. It's really remarkable. In your cost curve bending strategies, I saw you, local, state, and federal bonds, tax credits, ARPA, and state housing programs. How do we fit into that portion of local, state, and federal? And what can we do to help you have more success with this program in the unincorporated areas of the county?
Great. Well, certainly that ATAX S284 is an option that I would encourage you all to look at. I know the town of Hilton Head is looking through that, as are Charleston, Myrtle Beach, other areas in the state. And I believe there's some work that needs to be done to allow those funds to be accessible. But if that's something that would make sense for you, we'd appreciate that certainly. On the bonding side of it, the bonding capacity of the county and the municipality is very strong. So in the instant that there's an opportunity to help us with growth capital to buy these units, there's nobody to benefit from this. The board members are all unpaid. This is strictly a community effort. So the money would be well spent in that manner. And then certainly the land leaseback. I know if the county is sitting on any land that you'd like to see development on, the easiest way for us to access the lowest levels of area median incomes, 50%, 80%, we need support. The properties are already too expensive in Beaufort County throughout the region. So that would be the other thing I'd request.
With that first part of your answer, with a grant or money, is there a target number that you would need? I see that you received 600,000 from the town, or pending 600,000 from the town of Hilton Head. Do you have a number in mind that you think would be good for us to consider?
For us, we really look at 50 units as kind of our target on an annual basis, and 20% of that is 3 million. So that certainly would be, an amazing target to shoot for if it's possible, and that would encourage us to be able to go out and raise the other 80%, which would be 12 million on our side. So that's really the number that we work around, and we're approaching it with the town of Hilton Head in a drawdown scenario where it's not handed over in a lump. Obviously, it's as we close on properties, roughly one a week in that case. We'd be able to draw down on the funds in a matching manner like that.
I see you mentioned ARPA funding. Have you done any research on that to show how you would qualify for a release of some of that money?
Well, I believe certainly housing fits directly into the use of ARPA. I guess the bigger challenge is, are those funds already all allocated across the region? And if so, has the feasibility of the deployment of those funds passed muster at this point? Because they do expire, from what I understand. So those American Rescue Plan Act, if there are funds that have been earmarked that potentially would disappear because projects are delayed or over budget, then I think this is a good alternate use to consider. And I don't know exactly where the county or municipalities stand on those funds outstanding.
Is it, Alice, appropriate to ask for a motion to direct the executive staff to look into some of the options that Alan has mentioned as possibilities? Or does that can that come from the committee, or does it have to be full council? Tom, does it have to come from the committee or full council, a direction to the executive staff to inquire about the availability of funds in the areas that Alan has mentioned? Council would? Okay.
I was glad to see that you had mentioned the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund.
Yes.
An application, you have put in an application with them.
Yes.
And the land leaseback, you're not just limiting it to Hilton Head, correct? You're looking anywhere in Beaufort County?
Absolutely.
For land lease?
In fact, I'd say Hilton Head's pretty tight to begin with,
Right,
like
it's
some other
built
areas.
out.
Yep.
But there may be some possibilities for the county with, you would look for a 99-year lease for that
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah.
So I know we have some land, different places, the county does, but we've never looked at it that intensely. But there was a list of land at one time for possible use for affordable housing.
That'd be excellent.
Dust that back off again too. So.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilman Dawson.
Yeah, he mentioned funding from the ATAX. I would say that perhaps you, Madam Chair, through our staff, can actually get his contact information and let him know when the application process opens, so that he then can apply for some of those, funds.
Excellent.
So
We'll get that.
it's open now, but I asked Mr. Kevaney about this bill for using ATAX funds, because I think it's a real viable option for us for the future and other uses for ATAX money. What I do like about your presentation is, I'm on page 3, that you want to work on preserving existing housing, so we're not talking all new, and redeveloping existing property and then new properties as well. And those are the goals with the Housing Trust Fund, and so this is really very good.
Yeah, there's enough units to fix that 5,000 number that we saw.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at the short-term rental side of things. And if we can start to bring this community back into balance, then there's plenty of opportunity there.
So this woman that was in the, I'm gonna call her woman.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was- she's a
Madison,
kid to
sure.
me, but, I figured out her rent now is 19,000 something a year,
It was at 1,600 a month.
at 1,600 a month. Can she afford that?
Believe it or not, the area median income is $111,000 right now in Beaufort County. So the 50% line is, 55,000, just over that. So that's where we serve down to that 50% as an AMI. What's challenging with area median incomes is when you add a second wage earner in.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you have two $55,000 wage earners, they're at 100%. And that's why we see such a need, not just up to 80 or 100 or 120, but even up to 150. Because we could have teachers and we could have a service manager that are making, well over the 100% area median income.
Sounded like from the video, she was paying $3,000 in Bluffton, so this is a big discount moving.
Yeah, this is a
over.
discount, 1,600 a month, so 19,200 a year, and
The thing that we're seeing, which is so scary, are these, we lost a server from Frankie Bones Bluffton. She moved home to Indiana because her rent went from $1,600 to $2,200. And you could find anecdotes of that all over the county. And it's simply because these properties keep turning, and of course, the rents are skyrocketing along with it. We believe we have, obviously not just a viable solution, it's an expensive solution today. Had we thought of it 10 or 20 years ago, that'd have been great. Good news is, it only gets cheaper over time. So we're able to serve a lower and lower section of the AMI simply because we don't have the basis turning over and over again. Our basis would be the same, 50 years from now. So the solution only gets better with time, but we need a jump start and we need community support to do that.
I had a question. Is there a reason 50 units at a time? Is that just what you think is manageable?
Well, Carletha would be responsible for closing on one a week, but if you're up to 5 or 10, then yeah, we will be prepared to scale up. It's a community challenge that a lot of resources are focused on, so I'm sure we'd be able to scale up if the demand was there.
And we've seen it, where, like you already mentioned, where people, owners will, as soon as the 20 years are up and they've gotten their tax credit, it's flipped and everyone has 2 weeks to move out. I really like the deed restrictions that you would impose.
Right.
Any other questions,
I
comments?
don't have a question for Alan, but I do have one for you. So as a next step for us to provide assistance here, we would have to take some kind of action to get this matter on an agenda for the full council to consider. Is that correct?
That's what I understand.
Right, simple motion,
From here?
yes,
You
from
wanna
this
make that
committee
motion?
to council.
Okay. Well, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do I hear a
To send this
second?
forward for
I'll second.
consideration to
Dave,
place it on the
Seconded
agenda.
by Councilman Bartholomew. Okay. What is your motion to explore further with full council
Yes,
options?
Yes.
with staff?
to send it forward to full council for placement on the agenda for further discussion and consideration. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
so I have a
Anybody
follow-up
object to
question.
that?
Anybody without objection?
For the, without objection, but for the ATAX funds, he doesn't have to apply, does he? Because that's a different
It's a
bucket part of
percentage.
ATAX?
Well, I think this is an issue that we're going to talk about at the Finance Committee
Yes.
meeting perhaps next week, but
Okay.
if he wants to apply for local ATAX, he'll have to fill out an application.
And we're limited.
Well, and
there's a
state,
cap.
that's for local. State ATAX is totally different. We haven't even done the study that needs to be done.
This
for-
is 15% from ATAX.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this would be local, I think.
but there's other options too.
Okay. Well, this was great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Yes, sir, Councilman Dawson?
Comprehensive and
When we
impressive.
take this to council, this presentation will be made to the full board.
If Alan wants to come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, we appreciate it.
We'd
Yeah,
appreciate
that would
I
be very
think, because
helpful, by the
we
way.
have quite a few absent today. I think that would be, when we go to full
Yeah.
council.
Hopefully we can come back with more proof, more than 3 units.
And
We'll keep working.
And
That's
maybe, someone from the Beaufort Jasper Housing Trust Fund here to speak up for you too. would be
Great,
good.
thank you.
So, I know they will, yeah.
Very good.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Alan.
all.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Alan.
Carletha. Good luck in that job. Think you're going to be busy.
Thank you, Ms. Frazier. All
Along with
right.
his other jobs.
Number 8, update on discussions with the city of Beaufort regarding the Ladies Island Village Center Master Plan. This is a carryover from our last meeting, and it's probably gonna remain an item on our agenda as we go forward.
Okay, well, good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Merchant.
Yeah. Just a quick update. We worked with the engineering department to kind of look at what would benefit the county as far as, work in the village center along the Sea Island Parkway corridor. And so we met with the engineering department. They reached out to Stantec, who are they're currently under contract with to do the design work for a lot of the improvements on Ladies Island. The section of Sea Island Parkway from the bridge to the main intersection with 802 is one that was kind of put on hold about a year ago, while the other projects move forward. And so we really saw the need to do some planning work there that would set us up for a future referendum to make improvements to the cross-section of that road and further, further the vision of Ladies Island. So taking that information, what we did is we reached out to the city, basically saying that this is something that we're willing to offer as a county, and then saying to the city, to be a more holistic or complete plan, what other elements do you believe are necessary that you would like to see in a village center master plan? Kind of understanding this needs to be a joint effort, and so kind of offering this initial work from the county to the city and saying, okay, what additional items are necessary? And then the goal is to meet and develop a scope and then be able to come back with, an estimate of what it would take to complete the plan. So that's kind of where we are. It's doing some initial work on our end and reaching out to the city.
Any questions? Looking at Councilor Bartholomew.
Yeah, I know. I know things may have got pushed back a little bit with Mayor Murray resigning. But who's your point of contact over there? The city planner, or is it somebody in the engineering department for the city of Beaufort?
Well, I think that the conversation needs to start with the city manager.
Oh, okay, gotcha. And is there anything that I can do to help shape the plan? Is there anything that I can do on my end? Because I know we're still trying to get the whole scope and try to get a good idea of what we need to, make a smart approach moving forward. Is there anything that I can do to help?
I guess that would really depend on, I guess if we got to a point where we're, trying to see this move forward, and
So
we can
are
reach
we
out. But
kind of waiting on them at this point, them being the city, or you've already reached out to them?
We
yeah.
Administrator to
we
manage?
committed to opening that discussion and beginning that.
Yeah.
But we haven't had any additional formal meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So I guess it's probably just a little too soon to say.
Okay.
But we were kind of thrown, because shortly after the last time I spoke with you, we learned about the mayor resigning, and then that took a little bit of, because he was very much a big advocate. But I still believe that there's, the city, just from speaking with certain people, there's an interest to move forward. And so our first step is saying, well, this is what we're willing to offer, and go to the city saying what other items are necessary to make this a complete plan. And then,
Well, we'll leave it for next month's agenda too, and
Okay.
maybe by then there'll be some back, yes, Councilman Clover,
Yeah,
back and forth.
when this came before us before, I really thought that we should be looking at a larger picture, but we settled on this right here. With the city and the county moving forward with the planning of that area. And I think that's crucial because of what can happen, and we want to make sure that it's planned properly and have a lot of input from the community in this design. So I am hoping that all will go well here in moving this forward. And one of the areas that I am very much interested in is the traffic flow in that section, in that area. And how do we protect that traffic flow because it impacts beyond Ladies Island. So we want to make sure that it's planned properly, even though our interest, is beyond this area.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, and I would say, and somebody from engineering might want to chime in, but I mean, that is our goal. I mean, the whole point of those improvements was to improve traffic flow on Ladies Island. And, in addition to that, we want to make sure whatever improvements we're making to the cross-section also, improve other qualities like the sense of place, the character of the island as well. But that through traffic is, that is a major objective to the work that we're doing in the area. Because we recognize it's not only a destination or a place that people go to, but it's also, for many people, a place people pass through. And so we have to, recognize both for that area.
so I'm, I don't know whether 50,000 is enough, but I think we need to get started so that we can determine whether it's sufficient to move forward. One of the things that came up, Madam Chairman, during the same time was actually looking at, how do we connect Ladies Island and Port Royal Island as far as the traffic flow, and I think we're doing that with the Reebok Road planning, but it goes beyond Reebok, Sea Island Parkway. It also includes part of Burton out in that area. How do we move traffic? And I think we need to really come to grips with the city of Beaufort, the town of Port Royal, on this part of the area of Beaufort County, to make sure that we plan that traffic flow properly and make, even though it may be out in the future, we need to make sure that we do everything we can to say, hey, this is how the traffic is going to flow from the years, for the next 30, 40 years, beyond where I'm going to be around. But, at least the traffic is not jamming up like you got some municipalities and cities, and, we want to make sure we get that traffic flowing right. So,
Well,
anyway, that's my comment, Madam Chairman.
And I agree, the bridge was out, was it last Friday downtown? Yeah, it was, so, we don't know how long that bridge will, a lot of us were talking about the bridge being out, but we'll get there. We'll keep it on the agenda for next time.
Okay.
And I hate to even mention it, but the whole Beaufort High School traffic flow issue, it's gotta be analyzed. We just kinda, I'm looking to Jared, y'all spent a lot of time on it, and Jared Flalix and y'all did, and nothing came out of it, so.
And that's, I think, what we're realizing is that here's an opportunity for us to revisit that, move it forward, and,
All right, thank you.
hopefully get somewhere.
All right, we've got one more thing on the agenda. Recommend approval of resolution authorizing the interim county administrator to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the town of Port Royal for maintenance of the county-owned property known as Cherry Hill Park and the tree. And I think Ms. Naglett's gonna talk about this, and we have our town managers here in the audience too. So, okay.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair, Committee. Stephanie Najid, Past Parks Director. Today, I'm bringing forward a memorandum of agreement between Beaufort County and the town of Port Royal for grounds maintenance, park maintenance of Cherry Hill Park. As part of the property acquisition conditions, the town had agreed to conduct this maintenance similar to what they are currently doing for the Fort Frederick Heritage Preserve on the parcels that we also own. And the agreement is similar in nature to that. I do want to make one small point. There is no fiscal impact to the county, but we did receive at the time of purchase for the property a $50,000 donation from the seller. And that $50,000 donation is currently going towards some hazard tree removal and bush hogging of the property to get it to a state where they can actually come in and do the fine mowing. So we do have to do some improvements to the property in order to get it to the point that they can do that, but that is with the donation funding. And then the remaining donation funding will be used to conduct a conceptual plan for the property. And then the Friends of Cherry Hill Oak are also doing fundraising to do tree pruning of dead wood and weight reduction and Spanish moss removal of the actual oak itself.
So we need a motion to approve, modify, or deny the interim county administrator to enter into a memorandum of agreement with the town of Port Royal for maintenance of the property known as Cherry Hill Park. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
All right, motion by Councilman Dawson.
I'll second it.
And a second by Councilman Tabernick. Without objection, this will move forward
Madam
to,
Chairman, before you object, could you,
discussion?
yeah,
Yes,
could you recognize the
town.
town manager?
Yes,
Make
Mr.
sure that he doesn't have any objection to this?
Mr. Van Willis, do you have any objection?
Good,
Your
okay.
council's already approved it, all right? Without objection,
Okay.
go forward. Thank you, Ms. Nagy. All right, I have one more thing to mention. Ms. Tabernick and myself, met with, Mr. Kevaney and Mr. Holbert this afternoon to talk about the possibility of looking at a moratorium along Highway 170 south, that's just south, and looking at, information regarding, how Jasper County has done the same thing. And we would need to get some help from staff on how many development permits are in place, how many have been approved, and how many have been issued. And I'm proposing that we put that on the agenda for next month to talk about a possible moratorium. So, just wanted to.
On
do you
community
wanna make-
services?
Mhm. Yeah. Any comments or questions? We don't have much details, but we will make sure all of county council gets a copy of the Jasper County moratorium. I'll get Ms. Brock to send that out, and so you can kind of look at what they've done. So, not that we have to copy it, but it's always easier to, see what somebody else has done.
The moratorium is on for 6 months?
It
Theirs is
started
9.
June. and-
9 months? Okay.
Yeah. no, so I think we all realize some of the issues going on that road. All right, any other business? If not,
Before you close out on that, I know that's Jasper County, that's county council. What about Hardyville?
they did not
They
pass
did
it.
not.
No.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
All right, with that, we will adjourn. Thank you. The next meeting starts in 5 after. 5 after? Okay, 5 after 5. Thank you.
Drive down John Smith.